And the exit from recession may be Nigeria's best independence anniversary gift, coming weeks before its 57th. Although the gains of the exit would not be immediate, there has been an improvement in gross domestic product growth rate at 0.5% in the second quarter. But how has the Nigerian economy fared 57 years after independence? That's one question many keep asking. I'll also be asking market analyst Mukhtar Mohammed. He joins me in the studio to talk on the key issues in the Nigerian economy. Many thanks for your time, Mukhtar. Yes, also joining me via Skype is financial analyst Nnemeka Obiari. Thank you both for joining me on Business Tonight. Yes, thank you, Nnemeka. Let me begin with you. Would you say it was really an anniversary gift, exiting recession, with that announcement just a few weeks before our 57th anniversary? Looking at it, it's yet to translate to the improvement in Nigeria's living standards.
For me, it's an anniversary gift in terms of GDP. For me, I like classifying that there's two types of GDP. You have the GDP that's based on the paperwork, then you have the GDP that is the real GDP,
in reality.
The real GDP, where you begin to see employment, you begin to see activities, you begin to see stability, real stability, not a fragile recession that we're out of. For when you look at it both ways, you say, one way we are out of recession, and even the government admit that the recession is very fragile. So there's still a lot of work to be done. All
right, there's still a lot of work to be done, as Mukhtar said. Let me talk to you now, Nnemeka. Yes, following the discovery of oil in 1956, it seems viable sectors like the agriculture, manufacturing, and mining were neglected. But we are going back to that now, talking about diversification. What happened?
Yemisi, I'll be honest with you. Nigeria stopped having a real economy in 1966. What do I mean when I said I will stop having a real economy in 1966? Prior to 1966, we had a constitutional fiscal structure that allowed us to diversify. Structure that allowed us to have fiscal federalism, structure that allowed us to have resource control, structure that allowed us to have autonomy of the constituent regions, a real federal structure that allowed us to grow at our paces. All the regions looked inward, diversified the economy, looked at those inherent strengths within them to grow. From 1967 up to this time, what we have been doing over time is just a sharing economy. All we do is depend on providence, go to Niger Delta region, extract the crude oil from that area, sell the crude oil, share the money, and the bazaar continues. At any point in time, providence goes against us. That is by way of market fluctuation in prices of the global market, or by way of the source of aptitude by Niger Delta militants. We will start talking about diversification. I will tell you this, in reality, there can be no true diversification of our economy until we go back to restructure those foundations that actually allowed us to diversify our economy and grow the economy in the real sense of it. As long as we have the current sharing structure, the current physical structure that allowed us to federate from the center to the constituent units, things cannot work. The truth of the matter is that if you have looked at our history, so even let us look at recent times, from 1999 till now, every government that comes in place will tell you we want to restructure, but we want to diversify. Let me see. The truth of the matter remains. What we are pursuing is what we call elixir. We must devolve powers from the center to the constituent units. We must go back to resource control. We must go back to empaneling and putting in place those physical structures that we had in 1963. Those structures that allowed us to diversify and grow our economy in a sustainable fashion. Some other oil-dependent economies are leaving us behind. Go to Saudi Arabia and look at what is happening there. Go to Kuwait, go to United Arab Emirates. Basically, what we are doing in Nigeria is we are postponing the evil day. If you look at the budget performance of the federal government of Nigeria, if you take out time to look at it, you will discover that even revenue, half-year revenue as of 2017, went below even amount of money required to service debts. Revenue from the report from the budget office showed that we earned over 886 billion naira from oil sales, whereas debt services took about 997 billion. If you look at the other performances, you will discover that practically everything that happened in Abuja was done through borrowing. Central Bank of Nigeria printing excess money. Then if we have a federal government that will borrow money to pay salary, that will borrow money to service the existing debt, that will borrow money to do every other thing, why do we have a federal government? Why
all right, let me come here, Nemeka. Let me talk to Mukhtar. Yes, I'm sure you heard what Nemeka has been saying, but let's focus also on the exchange now, because you are more focused in that area. And if we're still going to go back to that point, in 1960, agriculture contributed as much as 64% to the GDP. Now we have the equities exchange, but it seems we are not that active when it comes to the commodities exchange. Yeah. What's happening?
Well, we lose focus when we discovered oil. We tried to build the commodity market. It has not been working, and you see, it won't work because we have downgrade when it comes to infrastructure. In any economy, when you don't have infrastructure, you have a challenge in how to build up the economy. I think the challenge we have is that we don't have infrastructure. So in building the commodity market, when you don't have good infrastructure network, it doesn't work, because some of this commodity will be coming from the rural area, which happens to be one of the areas that's really in the agricultural sector. So we don't have that. We don't have the manpower.
But do you believe that if we have the commodities exchange, there's going to be a greater turnaround too?
Well, you see, it's not about whether the commodity exchange, what we have now, we've really been able to work with it. I think the problem with Nigeria is not about the policy, it's not about we don't have the roadmap. It's all about implementation of what the vision that we believe in. And if you look at it, we have never had a sustainable vision. And without a sustainable vision, you cannot go forward, because all we have in Nigeria is each government coming up with their own agenda, which is always different from the vision that they actually have. So when we don't have continuity in government, we don't have sustainable development to look into the future. Oil itself, discovery of oil itself would have been a very good omen for Nigeria if we had been able to use that oil to diversify into other areas. Like you rightly pointed out, anytime we talk about diversification is when we are beginning to see that the revenue from the oil is coming down. And after everything comes back to normal, nobody talks diversification again. Everybody go back to the feeding bottle predarism. Everybody just want to cut from the center. I'm an apostle of restructuring, but the restructuring I have is an attitudinal restructuring, not just restructuring that has to do with the Constitution. Because when you talk about the Constitution, we have restructured, we have done 1990, we don't have to go back to 1963. Some of us were not even around when 1963.
All right. So all right.
We need to work hard on that.
We need to work hard on that. We have to take a break now, you both. When we come back, it seems that the crude oil is on its way rebalancing now. We're having it going up again. Do you think Nigeria will go on with its diversification process or would rely on the crude sales? Well, that's after the break on Business Tonight. It's Business Tonight. Nigeria celebrates its 57th independence anniversary. I've been speaking with Nemeka Obiari, financial analyst, and Mukhtar Mohammed, market analyst. Yes, let me come back to you now, Nemeka. Crude oil price is well on its way back to rebalancing at about over $55 a barrel now when we talk about that. Now, do you think, when we talk about the benchmark, we're still doing very good at what we benchmarked it at. Now, talking about diversification, it's well on its way to rebalancing. Do you think that the government will rest on its oars on diversification? Of course, we need the revenue from that. You know that, to be able to get our infrastructure well on ground.
Yeah, me see, it breaks my heart anytime we go on this kind of cycle run. Yes, over the last 2 months, crude oil prices has averaged $55–57 per barrel mark, and output has actually moved up to about 2 million barrels per day, which is good for us. And if you just put it to the budget benchmark of about $44.50, you discover that we've actually gone far ahead of the budget benchmark, which means excess return for us. Yeah, let me tell you this. It breaks my heart anytime I hear people talk about attitude restructuring or whatever. Yeah, let me give you 2 examples here. Netherlands, a population of about 18 million people. land mass of about 33,000 square kilometers, earns over $110 billion every year from agriculture, mostly dairy products from cow and the vegetables. Vietnam, with a land mass of about 331,000 square kilometers, population of almost 90 million people, earns over $32 billion exporting agricultural products. Botswana, our backyard neighbors here, have the number of cows in Botswana is about 2.5 million heads of cow, more than the population of Botswana. Here in Nigeria, we keep deceiving ourselves. Let me tell you, you cannot reinvent the wheel. Go back to 1960 to 1966. Look at the history of Nigeria. Look at our physical structure. Look at our structure. Look at our autonomous structure. Look at how that period panned out for Nigeria. We had the granite pyramids of the north. We had the cotton board of the north. We had the cocoa of the west. We had the palm oil mill and the coal of the east. We had the timber and the rubber of the Midwest. Today, every of these things have been abandoned by these current rulers who gather to share the little money that comes from Nigeria Delta, because we believe that every point in time we must have something to share. Anybody that tells us he's doing diversification in the Nigerian economy is deceiving himself. I have heard people say that our foreign reserve moved from 24 billion naira in February 2017 to about 31 billion naira because of diversification revenue. It's a lie. You will see clearly that one of the things that have happened there, that the Central Bank of Nigeria has been able to manage foreign exchange stability over time through these ingenious ways of squeezing liquidity in the Naira market to allow the foreign exchange market to thrive. And give kudos to Emefiele by opening the investor export foreign exchange market window in April this year, which is very transparent. We have a lot of foreign portfolio investors trooping in to take advantages of the high rates of instruments that are being issued by the federal government of Nigeria through the issuance of debt instruments, either by way of bond or T-bills. Let me tell you this. As long as oil continue to inch toward the $60 mark and output continue to remain steady towards our benchmark, and we have relative peace, the graveyard peace that we're having now in Nigeria region, all this talk about diversification is all about dash.
All right, Nnemeka, let me just get
you this. Until we restructure Nigeria back to what worked for us.
All right.
In 1960 to 1966, we will be wasting our time.
All right, Nnemeka, let me get Mukhtar's opinion here. Mukhtar, let's just look at the market. It's been stable, relevantly stable for a while now. Do you think that could also help sustain the economy?
Yeah, especially the foreign exchange market, which has been relatively stable due to the import and export window that was created, the investors window that's created by the CBN. So we continue to see the inflow of foreign currency into our market, and that is helping us to, especially in the area of liquidity and the exchange rate. So that is good. We could sustain that, and with the current price of oil going up again, that will also help us. And our reserve is a little bit buoyant because generally what we do with our reserve is something that nobody likes, because we just get our reserve instead of using it to develop our infrastructure, we use it to defend our currency. And then sometimes ask yourself how many population of Nigerians actually play in this import-export. But when you look at the larger picture, most of the things they import touch a lot of people in Nigeria, because we are really an imported-driven economy.
All right, both of you, I would love to leave it at that. We do not have time on our side, but I will thank you so much for talking to us on Business Tonight. Nnemeka Obiariri, financial analyst, and Mukhtar Mohammed, market analyst. Thank you for coming on Business Tonight.
Always a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Nnemeka.
You're welcome.